So think about this for a second. What if the exact season where you feel like totally abandoned, your texts are unreturned, your career is completely stalling, and your life just goes totally silent? What if that is actually the only season where you are being truly protected?
It is a really jarring thought, right?
Yeah.
Especially because, well, the pervasive feeling during those times is usually just this profound, heavy isolation.
Oh,
You
absolutely.
get this nagging sense of not belonging anywhere. And it comes with that creeping terror that your lack of visible progress just means you've been entirely left behind by the world.
Yeah, that FOMO is real. So for you listening right now, whether you are currently stuck in that silent waiting room or you're just exhausted from constantly trying to, prove your worth, or maybe you're just someone looking for a deeper psychological framework to understand the unpredictable seasons of your life, we have a very unique deep dive for you today.
We really do. We are unpacking a rather expansive, deeply poetic, and highly spiritual text today. And it's written entirely from the perspective of God, speaking directly to a, quote, beloved child.
Which is an intense framing. But regardless of your personal background or beliefs, our mission today is really to extract the core psychological and spiritual lessons this material offers. I mean, it presents this radical counter-narrative to burnout, isolation, and that desperate modern urge we all have to constantly hustle for visibility.
It's that.
And the framework, it begins by completely upending what it means when our lives lose momentum and just go completely quiet.
Yeah, this perspective takes a period of stagnation, what we conventionally perceive as a dead end or a failure or maybe a punishment, and reframes it entirely as a hidden season.
A hidden season, I like that.
Right. The foundational argument here is that silence does not equal abandonment. It is
Oh,
actually a sacred, incredibly active room meant for rooting.
rooting.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's one specific piece of imagery from the source that just stopped me in my tracks when I read it.
The seed one.
Yes. It states, "In my kingdom, the seed often breaks open before the ground begins to tremble." I mean, think about that. A seed doesn't need an audience. It doesn't need applause or like a social media campaign to take root. It literally only requires darkness and time.
Which runs completely counter to our default human operating system, doesn't it?
Oh, totally.
We want the earthquake. We want the visible proof of life and progress immediately. And to illustrate the mechanics of this hidden season, the material actually points to the biblical story of Elijah at the brook Cherith.
Right, because before Elijah experiences this massive public victory on Mount Carmel, where, fire falls from heaven in front of these huge crowds he has sent into absolute
It's
obscurity.
complete obscurity. He is directed to a hidden place with absolutely no platform. He is fed quietly, day by ravens.
Right.
And then the critical moment happens. The brook dries up.
That's the terrifying part.
Exactly. Human instinct in that moment screams, I have been abandoned. My source of life is gone. But this framework explicitly clarifies that the drying of the brook was not abandonment at all.
It was a signal.
Yes, it was a transition signal.
Yeah.
It simply meant that specific place had completed its internal work and it was time to move.
Meaning old sources dry up because their purpose is finished, which is just a notoriously hard pill to swallow when you're the one standing there thirsty, watching the water recede drop by drop.
Oh, it's agonizing.
It really is. But it completely shifts our understanding of silence. It goes from being a period at the end of a sentence into what the text beautifully describes as a comma of grace.
The comma of grace. Yeah.
I kept thinking about how aggressively this pushes back against our obsession with constant output. You know what it reminds me of? It's like a smartphone running a massive critical background firmware update.
Oh, that's a perfect analogy.
Yeah.
The screen just goes totally black.
Exactly. Outwardly, the device appears broken, it's unresponsive, completely useless to the user.
And our immediate instinct is to panic.
Right. We start mashing buttons. We want to force a hard restart because we need the phone to get back to producing and serving its function.
Yeah.
But if you force a hard reset in the middle of a core system update, you corrupt the firmware, you risk crashing the entire operating system. So this framework is basically suggesting that the hidden season is essentially a forced, non-negotiable background update for the human soul.
That's exactly it. You cannot see the new code being written in the dark, but the hardware won't be capable of running the applications required in the next phase of your life without it.
Wow.
The material calls this state being hidden within love, creating this insulated space where fragile, overworked places can be bandaged and weary parts of your psyche can finally breathe without performing.
Okay, but I have to push back a little bit here.
Go for it.
If this silence is just a loving, necessary system update, why does it feel like I'm being ripped apart? I mean, the material doesn't shy away from the reality that this waiting room is often physically and emotionally agonizing.
No, it doesn't shy away from that at all. And that brings us straight into the crucible of testing.
Right.
The source material argues that this acute pain is a mechanism of expansion, not destruction. It relies on the metaphor of a refining fire, but it makes a vital distinction here.
Which is?
The fire does not arrive to consume or end you. It arrives strictly to separate the gold from the dross.
Okay.
It is burning away the coping mechanisms, the ego, and the frailties that simply cannot survive the pressure of the new season.
Okay, I get the idea of burning away the bad stuff, but how does this actually translate into growing from the pain? Like, endurance is one thing, but expansion is another.
Sure. Well, Jabez is the perfect case study here from the text. In ancient Near Eastern culture, your name was virtually synonymous with your destiny. It was a profound identifier.
Right, names meant everything.
Exactly. And Jabez's name literally meant sorrow or pain.
Jeez. Thanks, Mom.
Right. It implies his life was a closed box, defined entirely by the trauma of his origins. Yet he famously prayed for his territory to be enlarged, and that request was granted.
But we really need to redefine what enlarging borders actually means in this context, right? Because in our modern context, we immediately think of a promotion, acquiring more real estate, or like scaling a business.
Right, external metrics.
Hmm.
But if we look at the psychological mechanics at play, enlarging territory in this context is about expanding the internal capacity of the human heart.
The internal capacity.
Exactly. It's the ability to endure more steadfastly, to hold space for deeper love, and to carry a weightier presence into volatile spaces. Jabez was asking to break out of the psychological confines of his own trauma.
So the pain itself is creating the necessary space.
Yes. The material suggests that the very cracks causing you agony are precisely the structural gaps where light can shine out most truthfully to other exhausted people.
That's a powerful image.
Right, because a perfect, unblemished surface just reflects light back into the room. A cracked vessel actually allows the light held inside to spill out into the darkness.
Man, when you are actively suffocating in a painful season, though, it is nearly impossible to view that pain as a useful tool. You just want the tearing to stop.
Of course.
But, you know, it mirrors the biological reality of muscle hypertrophy.
Oh, interesting. How so?
Well, when someone is lifting heavy weights, their muscle fibers are undergoing microtrauma. They are literally tearing apart. And to the individual muscle cells, the experience is indistinguishable from absolute destruction.
Wow.
But to the body as a holistic system, that severe tearing is the strict biological prerequisite for increased strength. Without the tear, the expansion cannot physically occur.
The tearing is the expansion.
Exactly.
And this perspective insists that those silent tears, the lonely endurance, they are deeply valued. They are not wasted energy. The text explicitly reassures the reader, stating, "I do not delight in seeing you suffer, but I know how to turn pain into depth."
So what does this mean for you, the listener, sitting in that exact pain right now? Because the material pivots from the philosophical reality of the waiting room to the practical question of what you are actually supposed to do while trapped inside it.
And the answer it provides is completely counterintuitive.
Right. It says abandon the grand stage entirely and focus your energy on unseen obedience.
Unseen obedience.
Yeah.
Yeah, the framework is fiercely critical of building an identity around applause. It warns that human recognition is an entirely fragile foundation.
So true.
The crowd that praises you today will literally demand your head tomorrow if you stumble. True obedience, it argues, grows like a root system beneath the soil.
Invisible.
Completely invisible, entirely unglamorous. But it is the only thing strong enough to keep the massive oak tree standing when a Category 5 hurricane hits.
And to prove this, the source highlights historical figures who altered reality not through massive campaigns, but through these micro acts of hidden obedience. Like, let's look closely at Ananias.
Yeah, Ananias is a brilliant example of this psychological shift, because he was not a king, a general, or a renowned prophet. He is described simply as a quiet disciple.
Just a normal guy.
Right. And he receives an instruction to go and lay his hands on Saul to restore his sight. Now, we have to remember, Saul was an active terrorist to Ananias' community. He was hunting and executing people exactly like Ananias.
So it wasn't just a simple errand. It was an instruction to walk directly into the jaws of a predator.
Exactly. It required overcoming primal biological fear. Ananias had to subjugate his survival instinct and his ego for a completely unapplauded moment in a random house.
Nobody were watching.
Nobody. But that single, terrifying step of quiet obedience opened an eternal stream, ultimately transforming Saul into the Apostle Paul, which fundamentally altered the course of global history.
That's wild. And Naaman's servant girl operates on a similar ego-shattering frequency in the text.
Oh, she really does. She is a captive, a victim of war, stripped of her home, her family, her identity. She has absolutely zero systemic power.
Literally none.
Right. Yet, when her captor, the powerful military commander Naaman, falls ill with leprosy, she doesn't harbor bitterness or plot revenge. She speaks a simple sentence of faith, advising him on how to find healing.
She actively facilitated the healing of the man who enslaved her. I mean, that dismantles the ego on a level most of us can't even fathom.
Truly.
Yes.
It demonstrates that spiritual authority has absolutely nothing to do with systemic status. Her quiet, seemingly insignificant sentence of compassion moved mountains that the king of her country couldn't even move.
But wait, we exist in a cultural paradigm where the operative motto is, if you didn't post it, it didn't happen. Our perceived worth is intrinsically tied to our visibility, our quarterly metrics, our public deliverables.
Right. The hustle.
So based on this entire framework, is ambition fundamentally toxic? Like, are we supposed to just passively sit in a room and do nothing?
That's a great question, but no. The text handles the nuance of ambition beautifully. It never condemns the desire to make an impact or change the world.
Okay, good.
What it ruthlessly interrogates is the source of the ambition. It draws a definitive line between striving in order to be validated by others and acting out of a grounded alignment with your true purpose.
Ah, I see.
If you serve purely to be seen, you will inevitably grow bitter when you are inevitably overlooked. But if your foundation is built on hidden obedience, you become insulated. You are protected from the intoxicating pride of success and completely immune to the bitterness of being ignored.
So if someone actually masters this, if they stop performing for applause, survive the tearing of their internal capacity, and build this massive underground root system, what happens when the hidden season finally ends? Because logically, you would expect everything to just easily fall into place, but this framework suggests the exact opposite.
Yeah, it really does. The transition out of the hidden season into the season of being sent is rarely a red carpet event.
Yeah.
The text describes it arriving like a gentle breeze, but it couples that with a massive operational warning.
Which is?
You must be psychologically prepared to face closed doors.
Which feels like a massive betrayal after all that internal work. I mean, the Apostle Paul in Acts 16 is a prime example of this frustration in the text.
Yeah, Paul had a highly strategic, seemingly righteous plan. He wanted to go preach in Asia, but the text notes that the Holy Spirit actively blocked him. So he recalibrates, tries to go to Bithynia, and is blocked again.
It's like hitting a brick wall.
To natural strategic eyes, these look like catastrophic career failures, blocked plans, wasted resources, closed doors.
You put in the work, you step out, and a door literally slams in your face.
But this framework recontextualizes those closed doors as divine fences of protection. They aren't punishments, they are guardrails, keeping you off paths that look good on paper but aren't meant for you. Ultimately, it guided Paul to Macedonia, where a much deeper, unseen need was waiting.
Navigating that requires a total surrender of our need to control the narrative, though, and we are obsessed with steering our own ships.
We really are. But surrender is the true operational currency here. The argument is that authentic authority actually requires total surrender. Consider Esther approaching the king to save her people. She didn't march into the throne room with arrogance, demanding her rights or leaning on her title as queen.
Right.
She fasted, she stripped away her entitlement, and she adopted the ultimate posture of surrender, saying, "If I perish, I perish." It was precisely because she had nothing left to lose and nothing left to prove that she possessed the authority to shatter the enemy's scheme.
There is another narrative in the source about this shift in perspective that completely melted my brain. The story of Elisha's servant in the city of Dothan.
Oh, that's a fantastic one.
Right. So the servant wakes up, steps outside, and sees the city entirely surrounded by an enemy army. Horses, chariots, armed soldiers.
He falls into an absolute panic.
Naturally.
Yeah.
Because the outward physical circumstances are objectively hopeless. They're dead men walking.
But Elisha doesn't even flinch.
Not even a little bit.
Elisha simply prays for the servant's eyes to be opened.
Yeah.
Instantly, the servant's perception shifts, and he can see what Elisha has been seeing all along.
The hill.
The surrounding hills are teeming with an angelic army, chariots of fire standing guard. The critical takeaway here is that the outward circumstances had not changed one fraction of an inch. The enemy army was still there,
Right.
but his spiritual vision was altered, and that shift in perception changed his entire reality.
It's like, imagine looking at a terrifying balance sheet for your small business.
Hmm.
The numbers are completely in the red, bankruptcy seems mathematically inevitable, and you are having a full-blown physiological panic attack.
Oh, yeah.
But what you don't know is that you're completely unaware that a silent multi-billionaire backer has already signed the paperwork guaranteeing all of your debts and fully funding your next decade of operations.
That's a great way to put it.
The physical ink on the paper looks horrifying, but the unseen reality is perfectly, unshakably secure.
That is the exact psychological state that text is driving toward. Stepping out into the scent season means walking with the conscious awareness of that unseen backing. You no longer have to force results, manipulate people, or panic when the external data looks dire, because you fundamentally know who is underwriting the venture.
So all of this preparation, the painful tearing of capacity, the closed doors, where does it actually lead? What is the final end state this material wants for you?
The ultimate culmination of this entire journey is moving you into a state of profound, unshakable rest. The text actively warns against returning to what it describes as a cold, dry religious shell.
Which, okay, the irony of that is absolutely fascinating.
Right.
Because for a massive portion of the population, religion is the exact mechanism that makes them feel weary, burdened, judged, and fundamentally exhausted.
Yeah, the rules and regulations.
The performance of being good is draining. Yet this material uses deeply biblical language to surgically dismantle that exact burden. It uses the framework of faith to offer a complete escape route from performative holiness.
It's a brilliant subversion of religious trauma, honestly. The source echoes Matthew 11.28, the famous invitation. Come to me, all you who were weary and burdened, and I will give you rest.
It's a famous line for a reason.
Exactly.
Okay.
But it makes it abundantly clear that this invitation is not extended to the people who are strong, put together, and perfectly executing their moral checklists. It is engineered specifically for those who are acutely aware that they are failing, exhausted, and desperately need to be carried.
It instructs you to literally shed the false garments you've been dragging around.
The heavy garment of shame over your past.
Right, and the suffocating garment of comparing your journey to your peers. The exhausting garment of needing to please everyone in the room just to feel a baseline level of worth.
It replaces all of those heavy, complex garments with one remarkably simple image. A lamp.
It's just a lamp?
It states that you are called to be a lamp in the world. But here is the critical, life-altering distinction. You do not have to manufacture the flame.
Oh.
You do not have to create the light through your own exhausting, anxious effort. You simply have to keep your wick clean, remain in the designated place, and receive the oil.
So you are the vessel, not the source. I mean, that takes the weight of the world completely off your shoulders.
Completely.
You don't have to constantly set yourself on fire just to keep everyone around you warm. You simply have to remain open to receiving the fuel.
Synthesizing everything we've explored today, I think this material offers a total paradigm shift for how we process the arc of our lives.
Let's map out the journey you've just taken with us today. We started by radically reframing silence. It isn't a cosmic abandonment. It is a hidden season of crucial preparation.
That mandatory background software update for your soul.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And then we confronted the agonizing pain of that season, learning to view it not as a destructive force, but as a biological necessity.
Tearing the muscle of our internal capacity so we can hold heavier, more meaningful things.
Right. We explored how to actively survive that dark waiting room by engaging in small, ego-shattering acts of hidden obedience, completely untethering our worth from the fragile, fickle applause of the crowd.
And finally, we saw how this rigorous underground training equips us to step back out into the light. It teaches us to view closed doors as protective fences, allowing us to operate with arrested, surrendered authority.
Completely free from the exhausting shell of performative living. It really is a masterclass in trading the anxiety of hustle culture for a deep anchored peace. But as we wrap up this deep dive, I want to leave you with a completely different angle to chew on regarding everything we've just discussed.
Okay, I'm listening.
We've talked extensively about silence as a place of growth, but what if we view it as a diagnostic tool?
A diagnostic tool for what, exactly?
For what you are actually fighting against? I mean, if the greatest test of your character isn't how you handle failure, but how you handle total silence, what is the silence in your life right now trying to protect you from? Are you exhausting yourself trying to kick down a door that was actually locked from the inside for your own good?
Oh, wow. That completely flips the script on feeling stuck.
Right. So the next time you feel completely overlooked, stalled out, or unappreciated, just stop fighting the quiet. Ask yourself, are you truly being left behind by the universe? Or are you finally being kept safe from a path that was never meant for you in the first place?